Hey, what's up? Let's talk about Apostle Paul today and him being shipwrecked. Apostle Paul, pretty famous guy. We know who he is in the Bible and a lot about him. He used to think he was doing the will of the Lord by persecuting the Christians until he met Christ on the road of Damascus, and it changed his life forever and became the Apostle Paul. He used to be Saul and became Paul. And specifically this situation here with the tempest that came upon the ship in the sea, a very bad storm. And the angel of the Lord appeared to Paul and said, "Don't fear. No one. You're all going to make it. You're going to survive. Do not fear." So when the ship got close enough to the shore, the back end of the ship basically busted apart and fell apart, and they got on debris and got off on the island of Malta. In that, nobody was lost. When they came up on the island of Malta, it was mainly like barbarians that lived there. But these barbarians, they were not rude, they were not out for blood, they were not like bounty hunters, but they treated Paul and all the others with respect and dignity, and they cared for them. They give them food, they give them blankets, they give them fire, they give them drink to keep them warm, keep them going. And they watched Paul and see what he was going to do. Well, when Paul was gathering wood, he stuck his hand into the wood to gather it out. The viper bit him, right? So they thought, well, sure, this man's going to die. Well, he shook it off, threw it off, "Stick it off me," went on gathering the wood, took it up to the campsite, and over time he never died. Well, the barbarians thought, wow, this man is a god, right? He is a god. And he got to minister to them, and he was on this island of Malta for 3 months. And during that time on the island of Malta, there was a man that was a rich man, and his dad was very ill, almost dying. He was going to die very quickly. So Paul healed him, with the power of God, healed him. And in that, the rich man looked at Paul and thought, well, this guy, what he did is great. The whole 3 months that Paul was on the island of Malta, almost the whole island was completely healed from all their sickness, disease, everything that was going on. And, plenty of people were, received Christ during that time. So therefore, when Paul was to leave the island of Malta, he was a prisoner still going to Rome. The rich man give him his own cabin on an Alexandria ship, which is a very special made luxury ship. He got his own cabin separate away from the other prisoners, and the guy treated him very greatly because what he had did for his father. And they sailed off going towards Rome. So Paul he's a very staple in biblical history. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like Paul. I don't like Paul's teachings. I don't want to hear about Paul. He did this, he did that." A lot of people can't stand Paul. Well, Paul is he is a established figure that we have to look at in Christianity. He wrote, a big chunk of the New Testament, and he seen Christ face to face on the road to Damascus. So, God can use anybody, anytime, anywhere, just like he used Paul on the island of Malta after a shipwreck with barbarians and healing people on the island.